Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So let me start off by saying happy birthday, champ. Today, Gervonta Davis turns 29 years old, and potentially, theoretically, possibly, he is the face of boxing, the biggest name in the sport. Now, I truly still believe it's Canelo Alvarez, but Gervonta Davis definitely has an opportunity to take over. And I believe he has the opportunity to take over in 2024, Jay, but it's contingent on a couple of things. Now, we saw the momentum that Tank was able to build in 2023, doing $1.2 million with, or 1.2 million buys with Ryan Garcia, which was very impressive. However, when you do numbers like that, of course, you're going to need the appropriate dance partner. And I think there's a possibility that, Gervonta Davis can keep up that momentum, but he got to have the right dance partner. Now, Jay, who's the right dance partner? Personally, I think Tank has to fight at least one of these individuals in 2024. I think he has to fight either Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, or Teofimo Lopez. And the reason why I believe he has to do this is a couple of reasons. Number one, you need to keep that momentum going, right? At this point, Tank should just be making big fights. At 29 years old, 29, it's not like he's old in boxing, but he's definitely aged a bit, right? He's still in his prime, certainly, but 30 is right around the corner. And now are those years that you make all of that cash. That's what we saw with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made the majority of his money, and he had the majority of his big fights after age 30. When he fought Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd was 30. That was the start to his big fights and his big money and his big paydays. Gervonta Davis is going to have to start going down that path. And to do that, he's going to have to face those bigger names to keep that momentum going. Not only that, Jay, I feel that with Tank, if he were to fight one of those guys and beat them, that kills the, that kills that whole narrative in terms of Tank hasn't fought anybody, this, that, and the third. And I personally feel that Tank has one of the better resumes at 135. Now, I would say Devin will surpass him when he faces Regis Prograis. But outside of Devin, at 135, Gervonta Davis has the best resume, period. Now, he's not the better fighter as far as I'm concerned, but he has the better resume once he faces Regis Prograis. And, I mean, I guess you can make an argument that he is, his resume is at least on par with Tank right now. So those are the things that I believe Gervonta Davis can overcome in 2024 if he were to take on one of those guys, keep that momentum going, and continue to build his name and continue to build his brand and be the face of boxing, because I believe that Canelo is in a decline in terms of not only his boxing skills, but also his level of popularity. Just my personal opinion, but I could be wrong. So, Jay, what's your thoughts on that, man? Tank has to get in the ring with one of these guys. We don't want to see him in there with Pitbull Cruz anymore. That's not the fight we want to see. I really don't want to see a rematch with Rolly Romero. Those are cool little fights. I'm not knocking those fights. And I'm not saying that every fight Tank has to be like Shakur. But what I'm saying is that one of those names has to be on the resume. And I would love to see him in there with Frank Martin as well. Frank Martin is one of those intermediary fights that I think Gervonta Davis could take. Not to say that, a Rolly Romero rematch couldn't happen, but it needs to happen in between. Well, number one, Rolly needs to do something other than what he's done so far since the Tank fight.
That rematch doesn't need to happen.
And then number two, it has to be something that's kind of sprinkled in between a big fight for Tank Davis. So it'll be interesting to see how they move in the next fight. But Jay, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, regarding Rolly has to do something, has to earn it. He got beat by Ismael Barroso.
The old man is what they call him.
Yeah, so Rolly ain't got no nothing in this one. I agree with you as far as like 135. Devin resume is on par with Tank's. As far as 135 goes, best thing for Tank to do. I agree also with it being Teofimo Lopez, the winner out of Devin and Regis, and then Shakur Stevenson, even a Frank Martin. I know Lomachenko ain't gonna fight Tank. Because Lomachenko only wants one thing. He just wants to get all the belts at one time, as many belts as he wants. And Tank, I think, is too much of a risk for him at this time. It'd be a great payday. I think it'll be still would sell. Although Loma lost to Devin already, I think it still sell because people want to see how Tank will fare against Loma anyway. But Tank is by far close to being the face of boxing. I'm with you as far as Canelo, just because Canelo has done so much for so long. It's all about longevity and consistency. So that's what we want to see with Tank. We know he has it, but to your point, you have to have the right dance partner as well. Those dance partners that you mentioned, I think would be the best ones for him to continue that momentum. I don't think they won't get no 1.2 million, but getting in the high sixes, sevens, and things like that, that'll help solidify him as being the face of boxing. A lot of people know Tank, but Canelo has a whole country behind him. I do feel Canelo's on a decline, mainly because of Canelo's own liking of taking competition that no one's asking him to fight. No one asking to fight Mel. No one asking to fight the Euro diet he had for 4 or 5 fights over there, with one of those picks going sour, which was Dmitry Bivol. So yeah, he's going out of the popularity contest because people want to see him fight the best people available. He hasn't done that. Dave Benavidez was the best person available. He didn't do that yet. But I like what Tank's energy has been lately, as far as him talking about he wants to fight the best fights. He called out. He said he wants Devin next and Shakur next. We'll see what happens. Shakur mentioned that, on a previous video I saw, he was talking about how they asked him what happened with him and Tank. Can it happen with him being on top rank? He said, well, a contract's up next year, so he should be available. I still think Shakur, as far as popularity, his profile still needs to be built up more if you want to really make that truly a mega fight. As far as a boxing fan, that's a mega fight to me. But as far as like sales, I don't think it's going to go to the level of a Ryan Garcia. And Ryan's definitely not on the level of Shakur as far as boxing, but he's more popular. So I think they'll have to cook one a little bit longer, depending on how Shakur looks against Dos Santos, and maybe one more fight, and then I think they can get that on later or next year. But next year, Tank has to fight one of those 4 people: Teo, Shakur, Winner, Regis, and Devin, or even Loma. Those will be my 4, and Frank on the lower end. I don't want to see a Pitbull Cruz too at all.
Not interested in seeing him in the ring with Lomachenko. You guys tell us what you think in the comment section. I just truly feel like Tank got to get in the ring with one of those guys. Next year, he'll be 30 years old. Again, happy birthday, champ. We're not telling you how to manage your career. We're just telling you how we feel and what we see in terms of just being, spectators, fans of the sport. I think that's going to move him in the right direction. And, I think that's the direction he needs to go at some point. And he stated, to your point, that he is interested in making those fights. And we've heard Leonard Ellaby say that Gervonta Davis is interested in making those fights. So let's make them happen. You guys tell us what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, M Sports Media, and we are out.